Good morning, or good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are in the world this morning. Rachel Wilkins here for Coffee with Artists, Day 5. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we were able to connect with today's guest, Michael Conroy. So unfortunately, you just have me for right now. So I have a good cup of coffee. I hope everybody has a nice beverage to start their day off. I figured I'd just take this opportunity to tell you what we have coming up next week, and also just touch base with everybody and see how you are doing in this crazy, crazy new climate that we're experiencing right now. Hopefully everybody is staying healthy first and foremost, and sane in this, this just time of uncertainty. So first of all, happy holidays to those that celebrate. Obviously a holiday weekend and week this week for a variety of different faiths. So if you do celebrate, happy holidays. I hope that you have some time with friends, with family. I certainly will be having some downtime this weekend with my wife, Jen, and our brood of animals that we have here in the Conception HQ. So I guess just a few things that we have coming up. So next week we have a jam-packed week of artist interviews for Coffee with Artists. So we have on Monday we have Lauren J. Reed, fantastic artist who I met out in Austin and in Houston. She actually won our award in Houston. Native American, amazing, beautiful, beautiful work. Then Tuesday we're going to be chatting with Justin O'Keefe. Met Justin in Dallas. He is a phenomenal photographer, super fun. We're going to have a great time on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're chatting with Marsha Wilson. And then Thursday, we're going to be chatting with Linda Frew, who is a dear friend and also a great encaustic artist. Linda is going to be here on Thursday. And then we'll end the week on Friday with Maureen Mackay. So we got a jam-packed week full of a variety of different artists from different genres, different mediums. So do stick with us. Obviously, unfortunately, today it looks like we cannot connect with our guest. If we happen to get a hold of Michael before the hour is out, we will, of course, jump back on. But if anyone has any questions for me at all, do feel free to jump in on the comments. I'm going to be here for another 5 minutes or so. Grab a warm beverage and come and join me and let me know if you have any questions. My mug is not very exciting today, but it's from somebody very dear, so there we go. So also next week, for the artists that are watching, we are going to do, by popular demand, we're going to do another challenge. So it's not going to be a 5-day challenge like the last one. We're going to do a 1-day challenge, and we're going to do that on Wednesday. So Wednesday next week, which is, let me check the date. It is the 15th, tax day. We're going to do the challenge on tax day. It's not going to have anything to do with taxes. It's going to be something fun, something that can help you level up and just optimize what you're doing online already. Some little hacks and tricks on what you can be doing on Facebook, Facebook Live, how to do broadcasts like this. I'm going to be teaching you everything that I know on Wednesday. So if you can make yourself available, it's going to be kind of an all-day thing. We're going to have a couple of live sessions throughout the day, and then you will have some tasks and some homework to do in between. So if you can join us, we would love to have you join us. Just drop your information in the comments, and keep a lookout for some promo material relating to it over the weekend. We're super excited to roll that out. And as I said, if you have any questions for me at all or for any of the Conception crew, just let us know. And next week, we're also excited we're going to be launching something brand new. We have our membership site coming out, which is something we've been working on for a while. And we've certainly had ideas about for some time, but we never really had the time to actually sit and put this thing together. But obviously we've been gifted with this time right now during this pandemic where, a lot of our events are postponed. So we have gone ahead and pushed forward, and we have a membership site coming out next week. It is called the Artist Action Club. It's all about getting into action and moving forward, especially right now during these kind of uncertain times. It's an opportunity for you to learn both a creative skill. So each month we're going to have an expert come in of a particular type of art or photography or any kind of genre of creative work. They're going to come in and teach a workshop. Then we're also going to have a masterclass related to the business of art. So just as I can give you a little sneak peek as to what's coming for the first month, we're going to have an encaustic class. So we're going to have an encaustic 101 with Linda Frew. And we're also going to have a masterclass on storytelling and Facebook Live. And that is going to be actually taught by Amber Brown and Coyle, who is a friend of Conception Arts, kind of one of our Conception crew family members. She's also a fabulous TV presenter on QVC. So she knows all about selling products, selling experiences. So she has some really sound advice in this particular masterclass. And in addition to the masterclass and the workshop, every member who joins is going to, be given challenges. There's an option for a premium membership, which will also include some Q&A. So you'll get access to the experts, so that the workshop leader and also the masterclass leader and myself, we're going to pop in at some point during the month and take questions and offer feedback and offer insight. So all of that is coming next week. We're super excited. I think it's just a great way to bring everybody in and give you something to focus on during this time, and offers the opportunity to really kind of strengthen your skills, both creatively and as an art business person as well. So, it looks like we've got Michael. Fantastic.
Struggling to get Google Chrome for a second, but I pulled it off.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. I was talking to myself. It's so much better to have a guest.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, at times.
All right. Well, welcome, Michael. I'm so glad you're here. That's fantastic. So for anybody who doesn't know Michael, Michael is an artist, Michael Conroy, an artist from Boston originally. We met at the New York show where you won the award for excellence in New York. So it's good to have you, Michael. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So do you have a beverage? Or are we
I do. I have a glass of water. I already have my coffee.
All right. Here's to that.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody who doesn't know your work or your style, Michael, tell them a little bit about that.
I guess I could. It's hard. That's hard to describe. So I guess like my work is raw. I mean, I think would be one way to describe it, and honest. That's kind of all I got, really.
What about the medium? Because it's very explosive, it's very colorful and vibrant.
Yeah. So the medium. I mean, the medium is paint. I'm a painter, so I oil, spray paint. Not that I'm a graffiti artist, but spray paint. I guess that goes back to where it comes from. Like a lot of it kind of comes from where I grew up. I grew up like in a lower socioeconomic neighborhood. So hip hop and punk rock and attire, sneakers, like all that type of kind of I don't know, those social components that make up everything. Like it is, I think, where my art comes from. So it talks to that in a sense. Like, and I think that's why it's like raw. And when I say honest or raw, or even spray paint to that extent, it's not that I'm a graffiti artist, but that texture is so like imprinted on my upbringing. Through visually, but also through music, through culture, I guess it would be the easiest way to say it. So I think that's where it all kind of culminates. As far as style, I didn't go to art school, so I don't really have like any parameters of style. I just paint the way I think the subject matter is dictating. I can tell you that like hearts and eyes and bricks tend to make regular appearances. But I guess that probably goes back to kind of what I grew up seeing, or thinking that like someone's heart on their sleeve is the best way to do it, or someone's eyes tell you their truth, things like that.
So tell us a little bit about growing up. You grew up in Dorchester, right? In
yeah.
The suburb of Boston?
Yeah, not really a suburb, but yeah.
Okay. It's in a city?
Yeah, it's like everyone knows New York and like how it has boroughs, Brooklyn, and so in Boston, like Dorchester would be the equivalent of like a Brooklyn. Boston or Jamaica Plain would be those equivalents. So they're like in the city, but downtown Boston would be Manhattan. Those other areas would be, so it's in Boston, but it's just not, it's Brooklyn essentially.
Right.
So yeah, I grew up there. Yeah, but it's like any other inner city. It's like diverse, multicultural, but also segregated at the same time. But you're constantly up against like all cultures, but as in America, there's always those dividing lines as well. So it's like you're super close yet super far away, opposed to a suburb, I guess.
Right.
That would be the difference.
What was the experience like growing up in a neighborhood like that?
It was a lot of fun. I grew up on a street with I felt like there was 150 kids that were like, like playing at the same time. But it was also, it was difficult in the sense that it was like, and I think this is probably more Boston specific potentially, is like, it's very, very kind of homegrown, we're like one of the most progressive, like liberal states or cities in the country, but we are very like socially conservative. There's like kind of an unspoken path for like the poor kids they should follow, like civic service jobs, get on the police department, join a union, especially as a white person. Those type of like, they don't have room for creativity, especially. So stepping outside of the box seems like much less an option than even an opportunity. So when you feel a little bit different, it can be a little peculiar in that sense.
So was your creativity encouraged? Did you have anybody championing you and your creative abilities as a young person, or was that just something that didn't happen?
No, and that's to no one's fault. That just wasn't an option. It wasn't looked at as, I mean, it might have been looked at. I don't even recall hearing the term creativity growing up. I would write, and so no, I didn't have anyone championing that, but I was not also pursuing that either. I would write songs when I was a kid. I would write poems. I didn't realize they were songs or poems. No one ever said like, oh, that's what an artist would do, or that's called a poem. Like, I just thought I wrote stuff down. And so that would be happening, but it wasn't fostered just because it just wasn't present for anyone. It wasn't a nefarious or negligent thing. It just literally wasn't there. Like, I get envious sometimes of like other families that are more artistically inclined, or maybe even cities or countries that value that. I'm like, oh, it must be so cool.
So with that being said, how did you start, or how old were you when you started creating, and how did that feel?
How old? I was older. I'm 39 now. I started, like I said, I was always doing this creative stuff. I just didn't know what it was. It just felt like something was trying to get out of me, and I couldn't quite figure it out, other than feeling like more and more increasingly uncomfortable with, like, I was in construction, like I was just feeling like really uncomfortable with what I was doing, but I couldn't really figure out why. I'd take guitar lessons. I would do all this stuff, like trying to figure out what the hell was in me, if that makes any sense.
Oh.
And so a career change, blah, blah, blah. About like 32, I really started trying to figure out what I was trying to do. And I would go to art museums. I was starting to do all that stuff, going to these different places, and loved it. And then I would watch documentaries and would listen to artists and the way they spoke. I mean, this is like, I'm talking like big art, like these Mount Rushmore artists. I would listen to the way they spoke, and it made sense. It actually feels kind of weirdly emotional talking about that, but it felt like I was like, oh shit, like I kind of think like that. I kind of feel weird like that. Like, so then I just was like, I'm gonna paint, and I went to some art store. I didn't even know what to do. I bought like some canvas. I didn't know like you could draw on a canvas at this point. I didn't realize you could like sketch on it. So I was just like putting paint on it, and I felt something really good, and was like, I don't really know what just happened right there, but that like I could feel something like visceral. So I just wanted that feeling again.
Yep. We talked a little bit about that this week with a couple of different artists that, you know, it's kind of a yearning, right? It's something that is busting to get out. And I feel bad for the people that don't connect that don't actually find some form of outlet to actually get that out, because it can be just completely stunting to, you know, your development and moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, it's funny not knowing what it is, and it's just like a feeling, and it's like all these other like concrete circumstances of life start to feel like super uncomfortable and not correct, but you have like no idea why.
Right.
You're like, I just know that like this picket fence and this like puppy, like it's not appealing to me, but it's supposed to be what I'm doing. I don't really know how to make sense of this. So yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, it's weird, basically.
So you talk a lot about you know, the therapeutic aspect of creating art, and you know, I think you shared some experiences with me at the show in New York. There's a lot of text, a lot of kind of stream of consciousness in your work, a lot of writing. Like, what are some of the personal struggles that you've gone through that, you know, obviously if you want to share on that, that have influenced your work and that kind of drive your process?
Yeah, so I mean, specifically, I struggle with addiction. I've been sober for like a long time now, but so that was alcohol, drugs were a problem for me. I'm an alcoholic, so that's the physical struggle. But I mean, I just emotionally, like, things can be difficult for me. Like, they can be difficult for anyone. I'm not trying to over sensationalize that. But that, you know, I've had struggles with trying to essentially correct my feelings with outside sources. And thank God for being sober for a long time now, and you can really come to terms with that, and some therapeutic, some counselors and therapists, and you know, and so I don't really like. I just want to be honest. Is really all I can say. Is like, when I paint, like, I don't like. Frankly, I don't have the greatest technical ability. Right, I'm not the greatest draftsman. Like, so all I really have is putting something emotional onto something. And that's really all it's like, that is, I guess, if I had a talent, that would be my talent, the ability to be like, you know what, I've gone through this and I know I'm not alone. And I know that these things are very, very common. And having felt alone, I know there's people that want to talk about that. And if I can be any sort of like conduit of those conversations, that would be great. And there's many ways to be a conduit of those conversations. I think what I am here for is to do it through art. Because that's quiet. It doesn't judge you. I think that's the main component.
I have a ton of things that I want to say in related to what you just said. I can relate a lot. But I think one of the most important things that you touched on there was, you know, not having maybe the skills that were taught in a fancy school, or, you know, not being the best draftsman. But what you have is something that can't be taught, right? You can't learn in art school how to paint with emotion. It's just not, if you don't have that, you don't have that. You can't, that's not something that you can be taught to, you know, express. It just isn't. And I've seen people have phenomenal skill sets in terms of like precision and, like you said, draftsmanship, and then just be lacking in that emotional rawness, that energy, 100%.
Yeah, thank you. I think in a sense, but yeah, I agree, and I'm always drawn towards like any art that somehow conveys that emotion is my favorite art, and that goes to music too. Like, I always think of it like, one, it's amazing that you can paint something, but that I guess specifically I could paint something and then someone could actually feel it. That is like the most, because it's not tangible. Like, how does that get transferred? You know, it's just red, or it's just blue. It's just a line. It's just like, it's crazy. But it's proof that like people can talk without like through a third party, like it's a tripod of communication essentially. But even like songs, like, right, like if you listen to music, to your point, like most songs are about the same thing, right? We've listened to the same lyrics for like 300 years, right? But every now and again, someone like bleeds on a track,
Yep.
and it never goes away, and it stands the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't necessarily say a different sentence that wasn't said 1,000 times before.
Yep.
It's just they were able to like really put something on it,
Mm-hmm.
and like people could feel that. I don't know, other than an artistic expression, I don't really know what else can do that in life.
Very little.
Yeah, like, yeah, even writing to an extent, when written word, meaning because it's so concrete.
Mm.
You read it, each word has a definition. It's like telling you a specific story, and it culminates in something maybe. But like painting is different in that sense. It's just different. It's amazing, is what it is.
It is. It's profound, and it can move you in an emotional way that you quite often is just stunning and surprising.
Mm.
But I don't know if everybody experiences that, and I feel bad for those that don't.
I also do. Yeah, it's to be moved by something is pretty. I mean, people can keep the money, they can keep all that stuff, but to be moved is like, it's kind of, that's success.
It's the human spirit.
Mm.
So thank you for being so candid about addiction. I think that it is something that many are afraid to be open about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I too am an alcoholic, and I've been in recovery for 6.5 years now. Not really spoken a whole lot about it publicly on this platform, but I do think it's important that people see the faces of what an alcoholic and an addict looks like, that they look like you and I, that that it's not, that if somebody is out there that is maybe struggling, that they can see that, there is a path that you can take that will not only give you the freedom from being kind of chained to whatever your addiction is, but also the possibility of having, a life that is fulfilling and can have joy, and that you can be creative after addiction. Now, that's something that I remember when I first got sober. I remember thinking to myself, I'm never going to be able to create again. I create my best work when I'm out of my mind. There's a bottle and I can like just be free and expressive. And it was so the opposite for me. Like when I actually put down the drink, it was, it just opened up so much more creatively. Did you find that you had that experience, or was it something that came after sobriety, the creative? Yeah,
so it came after sobriety for me, so I can't say specifically, but I can, to that point of putting a substance down and I guess your authentic self moves forward. I can say that on that subject, quite literally, everything that I have done has become more fulfilling. And it's just for me. This is and has become more fulfilling, more authentic. I can it more emotionally impactful, which is kind of, I think, what you were saying. Like you're like, whoa, I didn't know I was gonna like feel this fun.
Yeah.
But yes, so that has definitely been true, and I personally, in my personal life, I don't think, if I didn't struggle with certain things, and it's not limited to alcohol, unfortunately for me, or fortunately, but if I didn't go through those struggles, I wouldn't have been forced to find something. I would have sat comfortably, or uncomfortably, but I would have sat, essentially. And I personally believe, and this is just, I guess, more my life that coincides with addiction, but it's not necessarily the addictive narrative. I don't want to, like, everyone has a different path, a different story, and all of them are right in their own particular ways. But I don't feel I would have ever found art had I not, because I was forced to really like be broken down to like the absolute minimum and be like, oh, now I like, and when you get broken down like that, it's like, frankly, stop giving a shit. Like, it's like,
there's only one way to go when you get,
yeah, you're like, what's someone gonna not approve of me again? I've been not approving of myself for 15 years. Like, so it's like, it's a weird freedom that takes place. And I should say that work, you have to do a lot of work to get to that freedom. I don't want to, I guess I'm not good at, I should say I deserve, well, we or people that do that deserve some credit because they did actually have to do work to do that. It's not like you just, like everything magically happens.
Right. And that's, I emphasize that 100%. And I agree with that. It took a lot of, I had to hit that bottom, you know, and really be kind of taken to my knees to get to the point where I was willing to actually listen or consider something different.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like, it's such an opportunity that I don't think that I would have had I not been an alcoholic and addict. I would never have taken stock of my life in the way that I was forced to,
right,
by having that bottom.
Right. I agree. I agree with you completely. And that's what's to bring it back to art. And I like how it goes back there is that like it's like, I mean, pursuing art is going to have a bunch of no's, right? It's going to have a bunch of no's, a bunch of discouragement. Like it's not going to go in one particular, depending on what your ambitions are or what vision you have for yourself. But that like foundation that you're talking about is really helpful to like not care about the affirmation. Not that I don't care about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. It's really nice and winning an award was like amazing. Like the fact that you kind of remembered a piece of art is amazing. Like that really feels really good and it's affirming. So that's needed, but it's not the only thing. Mm-hmm. And pursuing art, it can't be about that. It would just be too crushing. Mm-hmm. It would be too devastating to like, you know, have 20 no's a month and one yes.
Right.
Because that's the nature of any creative pursuit. Essentially, it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it takes so long. Yeah.
In many ways, it's kind of a contradiction because you have to have thick skin, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to wear your heart on your sleeve.
Mm.
So it's like finding that happy medium, and I guess that kind of goes for life and certainly in sobriety as well. It's the same thing. You know, you have to be willing to take people as they are and not, you know, sit in anger or resentment and all those things that can possibly take us as alcoholics and addicts to, you know, a place that we don't want to return to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, be able to put yourself out there and be, you know, soulful and be loving and be expressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, vulnerability is huge.
Yeah. And I think that's what shows in your work. And that's what shows. It's the willingness to be vulnerable.
Mm. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the whole episode about addiction, but I really could talk about it all day.
No, I mean, I could too. Though art in those two subjects, I could pretty much book a day, and I could just endlessly talk about both.
I mean, and I hope if there is anybody out there that's listening, that they can, you know, see that it is possible to, you know, to come through and kind of face your demons and come out of the other side, and, you know, be able to still be creative, you know, still have joy in your life, and still be able to just keep moving forward. So I hope that if anything, that, you know, if anybody is listening, that we can certainly pass on that message. Why do you think it is so rife in our community? Like, I mean, addiction and artists, it kind of goes hand in hand for centuries, right? It's just you're correct. If you like look into or try to educate yourself or research any artist, you're going to find some commonalities that are pretty undeniable. Addiction and promiscuity pretty much run pretty heavily. I think it's just about emotions, right? You just
I mean, part of it sounds really cheesy, like it's like you're looking for a muse, but I think I know I can fall guilty of like, actually, especially with the absence of changing your state with the substance, like kind of constantly searching for some sort of inspiration or emotional shift that's going to produce more work, essentially, which is narcissistic and borderline horrible behavior. But but it's kind of true that you're like, you kind of just like, creating stuff can become the most important relationship that you have, and oftentimes you might hurt other ones in order to achieve that. And but I don't know, I guess being honest is really helpful. But so I think to your question, I think it's maybe about the emotional thing that you're trying to, like, I mean, like Francis Bacon used to go out and just get beat up.
Right.
Like that was his thing.
And you can see that in his work.
Yeah, to literally go out and get beat up. I'm glad I don't have that instinct.
Right. Like the extremities of, chopping off your ear.
Yeah,
It's, I mean, you think about it, and perhaps there was just this dis-ease with life, right? This, you mentioned the puppy and the picket fence, right? It doesn't speak to you. Like, it's not, the idea of what society tells us a life should be is so we're so saturated with it, right? We see commercials with the wife and the husband and the 2 kids and the 2 cars in the garage, and like it's everywhere in pop culture that this is how you should live your life. It should be in this little box, have the career, go on the 2 vacations a year, have the kids, retire. Like that's the journey. That's the experience. Yeah. So to think to yourself, well, that doesn't fit me. Like, I don't want that. You start to maybe question your own sanity, when perhaps it is more of a society thing and less about you as a person and you as a creative.
Yeah, I struggle with that a lot, coming to finding art. Like, and for me, I think the word that always kept ringing in my head was like maturity. Like, I'm not mature. I'm not responsible. Like, if I don't want those things, it became like this moral indictment, which felt not good. To be like thinking that, like, oh, I guess I'm not like a man, or I'm not, all these fake imposings of what is normal. And again, that would be kind of leaned on me in certain instances, and not for negative reasons, because people are like trying to teach you. They want the best for you, right? A lot of times, but you can't really push your limitations on someone else. Because just because, a lot of times when someone's saying that, is, I think it's out of fear that like they might not believe that's possible. That's not possible. You could never do that. So they're going to push that on you, and no one has the right to tell anyone what is or isn't possible for that individual. That's a difficult kind of realization to come to.
And if you're not living your own truth, if you're living somebody else's version of what maturity should look like, there's going to be problems. There's going to be, challenges. There's going to be outbursts, right? It's going to affect you. Like, I know this is probably a horrible analogy, but I think about, the folks who, and I feel very sadly for these folks, but folks who perhaps are gay and stay in a heterosexual relationship. The society tells them that that's what they should do, that they should be that person. Like the misery of that.
Yeah, shame. I think that word is like late for the last like year or so. I've been like, really, that word has been like, I can't get away from that word. And when you say that, that's like what comes to my mind, because it's like I think we put a bunch of words on it, myself too. Like it's hidden, it's confidence, it's self, it's this, and it's like, I mean, I think it like almost boils down to shame. Yeah. And how corrosive that can be. Like, in the same thing, if you feel to a sexuality standpoint, if you feel like, which is, you know, would be termed societally less challenging, of like feeling immature, not responsible, but what you feel is shame. I'm embarrassed. I'm shameful that I'm not this other way.
Yeah.
And it's like such a weirdly taboo feeling. I think that goes back to like addiction or expressing vulnerably, is that it goes back to, it connects everything, really. It's like an equalizer, like that feeling of shame, essentially. And how many different topics or struggles or setbacks or opinions that it like is the underpinning to. And I think I like painting about that because I feel like if people talk more about that, how empowering could that be? And to find like, and it would cross so many different things. It would cross racial lines, it would cross sexual lines, cultural lines, and it would be like you really combine people. But that's hard. It's like really, really hard to talk about that stuff.
And a lot of it is generational shame, you know. It's and I think a lot of it relates to fear, right? Like that's the ultimate. Once you kind of work backwards and look, okay, well, what is it? I have shame about. What am I carrying shame through my life about? It's the fear of those things coming to the surface. People seeing this version of you that you think is not acceptable to them.
Yeah, I think we all want hugs. We all You want
hugs?
Yeah, me too. Right now, man, I can go for a hug. But yeah, I think it's like, yeah, there's like a thin line to like not need affirmation and realize you need it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, to know that like I'm not it's not going to define me, but at the same time, like knowing that you're like as weak as you are strong. In equal measures, you know, you're as significant as you are insignificant. Like you just kind of we're all kind of just like trying to figure this shit out.
Right.
Really.
Right. It's being vulnerable, but being confident. It's that is a hard place to kind of straddle those two.
Yeah. Yeah, okayness. I think of like okayness a lot. Like sometimes like just being like, oh, there's a lot of power in like being okay. Like, and it's funny, like you'll end up in conversations with people sometimes, and everyone has different mentalities, and a lot of times it's semantics, but people like contentment. If you talk about like, oh, I'm content, or I try to accept things as they are, they're like, oh, you're like settling for less, and you're like, like I'm just not. No, it just is what it is. Like I'm gonna go around this wall. It's not gonna stop me, but it's a wall. That's okay. Like I fell short in this particular instance. Like that's okay. It's not anyone else's fault. Like it's what it is. Right. So, but yeah, it's funny. People kind of get into that. Like they think it's like people get very afraid of being a doormat, I think, a lot of times, and it's like. It's such an illusion. It's not even a real thing. Like like someone thinks they're better than you. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You might be. You very well could be better than me. That's okay.
You know, I was talking to somebody last night about anger, like how, you know, so many of us, and I've been guilty of it too. And I think anger can show up manifest in many different ways. But you know, when you think about anger, if you have anger at somebody or jealousy at somebody or envy or whatever it is, you know, you are the one that carries the burden, right? They say having anger is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die, right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things I've ever heard in my life.
Right. And it hits me because it's like, it's the truth, right? I could be angry and resentful at somebody and they could have no idea. They're going about their day. They're totally fine, you know, but it's me that sits with that. And I think that there's a lot of freedom when you decide that you're not going to sit in that emotion.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I guess it's like self-accountability to an extent. There's a Buddha, I think it's a Buddha quote where he's like, you will not be punished for your anger, you'll be punished by your anger. Which is like, it's true. It's like, I mean, you can sit with it, but it's ultimately ruining your day.
Yep.
So, and it's not, it's not expansive. It's like at all. It's like it like falls into like bitterness, and I don't see how you can get anywhere, especially in like a creative endeavor where there's like too much bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so subjective. Like someone is always gonna like have this thing that you're dying to get. Like I went to an ICA show, the Contemporary Art Museum in Boston not too long ago with this amazing artist, and I'm so happy to be there, but at the same time, like I want that so bad, like so bad. It's all I think about all day is like art, and like I want to like be able to like achieve what I want to achieve like so badly, but not mad.
Right.
It's like urgent. But if you didn't have that attitude that you're speaking of, I imagine that could quickly turn into like bitterness and envy, and you're like, wow, like, yeah, like
I know it because I've lived it.
yeah,
Not to live it today.
yeah.
To be an angry person or a resentful person or envious, or and it doesn't mean I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Those things are still there, but like we talked about, like I have to work on a daily basis to make sure that the steps that I take and the words that I put out there and the relationships that I have and the communication that I have is not from that place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about changing those patterns. Those are old ingrained patterns that are there,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a choice.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's yeah, you do like your attitude is a huge thing to just focus on. Yeah, because there's so many different variables that can be bad or good, or like they have rankings, right? Like different situations in life have like rankings of like positive, not good, this sucks, that's great, this, and it's like if you get too caught up in those like barometers, then you I mean, especially for me, someone who's in maybe that artist type thing, that like I am a emotional, like those like brain scans. I feel like if someone like looked at my emotions, they would look like one of those things. Like, and if you're constantly using the barometer of like what is better or worse or good or like I just would not be, personally, I would not be able to function very well in that type of like measuring stick. It wouldn't be very good.
I feel in a way that even the society around the art world is kind of failing artists. Like the messaging of, you can only be prolific if you have the tortured artist spirit. You can only, be prolific if you are this mysterious kind of, hiding in the corner, elusive, tortured addict, right? Like if you look at like the documentaries and the textbooks and the history, it's like, how much do we hear about mental health, the mental health of this person, or they were a menace to society, or Van Gogh chopping off his ear, or Picasso with his a lot of things. We're told that this is what it takes. Like, I don't generally associate the idea or the concept of an artist with somebody like you, who serene and who has peace in his life, and who is able to be honest and vulnerable and tell your story with emotional, with emotion. Like, I feel like we almost fail the next generation of artists that are coming up by continuing to tell that narrative, and that we almost have a responsibility to reclaim it and say that you can be, a person of dignity, a person of vulnerability, and a person of warmth, and have joy in your life, and still be creative.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would have to. I'm a bit of an outsider, and like I would have to lean on, like I'm sure I would say that you have more insight into that than I. And yeah, I don't know what that is. I'd imagine it's like, I mean, some of it's narcissistic in a sense, right? Like, just romanticize your struggle. Like, you can make a choice. You can romanticize it and use it as some sort of barometer of like, and it is alluring. Don't get me wrong. Like, it is like, it's alluring. And my ego can enjoy it at times as well. But what's the goal? Like, if you really know that it was a struggle and it caused you pain, and I guess you were then fortunate enough, or there was enough grace in your life to be able to have some sort of healing, I think, because that would be essential, right? If you haven't had healing from these mental health issues, then you can't really convey any sort of progress on it. You wouldn't be able to. You can't transmit what you haven't like received. But but I imagine it's like to constantly, I think you just have to have self-awareness to constantly like be selling that as a basically a marketing tool. And I'm sure, I would imagine that it is marketable on like the business end of art. That's going to be a marketable thing to do. And as enticing as that may be, because it could look like that's a path to success. But if you're, I mean, I almost want to swear a little bit, but to me, if you're an artist, like, isn't the whole joy of being like, fuck your opinion. Like, you want me to, I left that life. Well, maybe for me, I can only speak for myself. Like, I left that life and I'm going to sell my soul all of a sudden for marketability. Like, I don't have shit anyways. I'll keep having it's like, I mean, I think it's like knowing where your feet are and knowing what type of what vision you have for yourself, and be completely uncompromising on that. And if that's romanticizing your emotional health or struggle, then who's to say that's wrong? It ain't for me. But who's to say that's, you can't really judge it. Everyone has the opinion or right to do what they want. But I think, I mean, it's like mental health is serious. And thankfully, people are starting to like actually speak about it a little bit more, but it's serious, and it afflicts, if it doesn't afflict you, it afflicts someone that you know. And that's just the facts. And especially today in society, like, not to go too deep into it, but like mass shootings, all these different things and today too, everything's so polarizing and so seemingly ridiculous that, we keep brushing mental health onto the rug, like, and keep allowing, AR-15s to be sold. Like, it's not going to work out very well.
Right.
And luckily there's progress being made on that. But if you, as an artist, but art has always been like the forefront of all like civic shifts. Like, it always, like, if you go back and look at like music, painting, anything that either is right before, or even say the civil rights movement or anything like that, like, it's Sam Cooke, like, it's all like, the music is the most easy thing to probably look at because you can hear it. But it's like all that stuff, artists are on the forefront of that. So to romanticize that a struggle, to me, would be counterintuitive to the thing what it's about.
And artists have been at the forefront because they are so visual, right? They can put those messages out there, and it's seen by the world. It's documenting that particular time in history, sometimes before it even happens. Yeah,
I agree. I think artists too get a knock sometimes for being like flighty, and there's definitely a case to be made for that. But like out head in the clouds. But I think also like good art is really like, or good artist or good art is really like concrete and reasonable. Like, it's accurate. You're like seeing a social situation and you're just looking at it accurately. You're being like, that is wrong, because it's based on like, not based on politics, not based on my upbringing, like, it's just wrong or right. And then you express based on that opinion of like, accuracy. Like I think I'm a liberal person, but I like to think of myself as like a realist liberal. Like if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But, you know, so it's like I think that that part, to your point, like artists sometimes get seeing things accurately and then expressing that based on the accuracy of that situation or experience is actually not flighty. It's not lofty. It's like really elementary and real.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that plays a role too in like the reflection of like of particular content that seems to predate a movement that was like more correct, or it was the right way to go, or it was like the moral compass type of thing.
I actually feel that, considering what is going on in the world right now and the absolute insanity that we're dealing with, that the art that is out there is very conservative. I don't think the art that is being produced, that at least that I'm seeing, is reflective of the bitterness and the simmering anger that we're experiencing as a society right now.
Yeah, it should be. I'm mad. I'm pretty mad.
We're also serene, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, on this thing.
We're not really mad.
Yeah, let me shut this computer off. No, but it is. I don't. Yeah, things are not okay right now, in my opinion, in many ways, too many ways. And yeah, I mean, personally, I want to make art that reflects that. I don't, and it's not even I want to. It's just like it's like where my personal inspiration is going to come from. It's just going to go that way, anyways.
Yep.
And yeah.
Maybe we'll see it a little later. Maybe it'll be more of a reaction.
Yeah.
People are just too busy living it and experiencing it right now.
Yeah. It's. I mean, and art should. I think it should provoke too, right? It should take. It should. It should, like, good to me. My like as just a fan, looking at art that makes me have to think something, like, or have to ponder, or be forced to kind of be like what's going on here. Is my favorite art, and that can also start that internal dialogue of something. Wonder this person was upset, or what is to be upset about. It doesn't necessarily always have to be, I don't know, a giant middle finger painted in the middle of a canvas,
right.
Which could also be nice. But yeah,
you don't want that on your in the room in your house, though.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that type of stuff. So like that provoking of thought is also kind of. It should be there, I think. I don't know. It's at least what I enjoy.
Yeah. So we have about 10 minutes left, or 8 minutes left. So I'm going to go to the comments. So if anyone has any questions for Michael, just jump on into the comments. So I'm going to go way back here. All right. So our Jen says, this is super interesting as a non-artist to understand that the connection I feel for athletics is the same way that artists feel about art. It's a yearning and a need to go to a certain outlet, and nothing else feels quite like home. Yep.
Pretty cool.
Let's see. Megan, I wasn't sure if I was going to tune in this morning, but oh my, Michael is so compelling. You should do a documentary. I agree. All right. Megan again. I'm about to cry with Rachel and Michael opening up with such grace. I think it's important. And, I hope that if nothing else, if somebody can relate and recognize that there is an out and that there are people here to support you, if you are experiencing addiction or you're struggling with any kind of substance, that there is another way. And, we're certainly proof of that, if nothing else. Let's see. Megan, Michael is such an open person, and his work is beyond amazing. When you ask me who would I want to have coffee with besides you and Picasso, I wouldn't mind sitting with Michael. Awesome.
brings Picasso, we'll show. Okay.
This is such a masterclass in being serene and living sober, whether you're an addict or not. This is very special. Thank you both. Okay.
Of importance, probably, like, I can act very non-serene, just to make it like I can lose my mind in a second and yell and speak to someone that isn't the way that I want to conduct myself. Like, that's part of the life. Like, so
because you're a human being.
Yeah, when you see it, like, seeing someone looking serene in a particular moment doesn't mean that we all have flaws that are like, could show up. I mean, I could go get, well, not today, but I could go get a coffee and be cussing some guy out in the street because I'm a human being, like you said.
Right.
So
we're all doing the best we can with the situations that present themselves to us.
Right.
Sometimes you don't get it right, and I often have to correct and apologize for my own behavior. Mm-hmm. But I like to think that I move forward, not backwards to, those emotions and living that way. But it's never perfect.
No.
Dear God, it's never perfect. So vouch for that.
Yeah, you're like, well, that kind of screwed that one up.
Yeah.
Let me try to not do that again.
Reset.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So one from Jan here. This is a long one. So let me see. All right. So this conversation underscores the importance of making art available to children. Absolutely. Schools across the nation are cutting these programs under the pretense of cost. This conversation makes it clear how vital art is, not just to empower creativity, but to empower kids to be significant as a powerful self-perception. Currently, we're raising money to provide hospital workers with food, not to take away from the important work these professionals are providing. However, they have jobs and income. I can't actually see the rest of that comment. Jen, are you able to show the rest of that comment? Actually, you know what? I can do it right here. It only shows me a certain amount of the comment for some reason. So let me jump on over to Facebook. And let's see. I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody's comments. Okay, I think I got it.
That comment. Jen, are you able?
Okay. However, they have jobs and an income. Art for kids is a pure investment in social wellness. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that just even the act of this president, and okay, I'm not going to get into politics. Try to stay as impartial on this platform, certainly. But the act of removing the Arts Council, removing the funding for these kind of programs, and seeing them as kind of a secondary, like was stated, just it's not important for education. Like liberal arts degrees are always just kind of almost laughed at in some instances. But we know that it's more than just the ability to create. It's about expression. Like, I wish that we would take these programs more seriously.
Yeah, I think option is important too. Like showing a young person that they have options. And like speaking for me, where I thought there were not as many, and I'm sure my city, my experience is not, singular. So like just to show young people that there are options, I think is important.
And there's also things that creativity can give you in terms of longevity and career, other than just being able to paint and create. Yeah. It allows you to think differently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a skill set that you're not going to learn with, from algebra or biology.
Right. And that goes back to too, like there's so many, the school system, and I don't know how you would fix this. The school system is so mass and it has to do so many things, but many people, kids don't feel school often, school feels kids, like the way it is taught. And to give someone an option that like you don't have to be an accountant, for instance, is really important to be like, oh, there's like I can like maneuver my way through this thing in different variations and not have to just be strong academically, which is also important and I think empowering to someone that's young.
100% agree. I remember just being horrible at math and horrible at science and being told that, you know, I was in the bottom class of math, and, you know, it was like, you're not good at this. You're not good at any of this. And art was not seen as, I remember my report card, actually, it would be like, you know, math, the sciences, they all had like these big sections where the teacher could write in their notes and give you a grade. And then the art one was like this big at the bottom. It was like, it just wasn't considered a significant accomplishment.
It was a hobby.
Yeah.
It was a pat on the back. Like, it felt like you got like a hair tassel. And they're like, oh, that's adorable. You're like,
yeah.
Empowering.
She likes to make stuff. That's nice.
Yeah, it was so cute. Maybe we'll be a real person someday.
Well, I think that we have covered a heck of a lot of stuff here, and thank you for just being so candid and honest and vulnerable. I appreciate the opportunity to do the same.
Yeah, likewise, of course.
I hope that you know, we've brought you a good episode, folks, and you know, like I said, if anybody is out there struggling, don't be afraid to reach out. Yes. Oh, and I'm being summoned to ask that we get a look at the art in the background. And also, somebody said how wonderful your studio is. I agree. It looks.
Big. Thank you. There's
not a New York studio, that's for sure.
No.
So show us not.
So there's okay. That's a painting, and then a sculpture that I don't know. I've been messing with sculpting lately. I don't really know where that's going, but and then
that beautiful space. Wow.
Oh my God. Thank you. Yeah, I'm like so fortunate that I can like live and create. I just got a year ago, so it's like super important to be able to like have a little bit of security and space to create.
I love that. You've inspired me to go get the paints out this afternoon, so I'm gonna do it too. Oh, look at that
studio.
Very cool.
And some garbage, naturally. I found a door on the street. I'm like, I can deal with that.
I have a habit of doing that. I'll bring things home. Like, this would be great for making art. And it's like kind of sat in the studio for like 6 months.
Sometimes it gets used. Sometimes, yeah. When I was bringing it, I'm like, I might be carrying this door. And like,
there might be some bugs on this. That's
yeah, it's definitely the paint is chipping. I'm like, this one's a little rough, but.
Okay, it's that creative spirit. So where can people find out about your work online? Where can they purchase?
So Instagram is usually probably the most connective way. It's at Conroy Art is like the handle for all my stuff. It's my name, Michael Conroy. So Conroy, MCONROY Art.
Your website, I'm going to put it in the comments.
Thanks. And that's both. That's mconroyart.com and at mconroyart. And Instagram is the only platform that I use just because it keeps it simple.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Michael. This was really profound and beautiful and unexpected. So thank you again for just being so frank and open and for joining me for coffee this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Be well. Thank you, folks.
You as well.